Everything that you see on Promise Manor, my Instagram, my Facebook, it looks beautiful, but you don't also see behind the scenes and all the things that it takes to get to that point. And so dismantling the belief, as especially women, that we have to live up to some Pinterest, Instagram worthy photo of what family and business looks like, that's a lie. It's a lie, and all it does is cause confusion, and it causes us to think that we have to be something greater than what God's called us to be.
Where would I be without God and my girlfriend? Where would I be without God and my girlfriend?
Welcome to this episode of the GAMG Stories Show. I'm your host, Lisa Hendrick, having a conversation today with a girlfriend of amazing faith and incredible entrepreneurial spirit, Kayla White. Kayla and her husband are the owners of a historic estate in Lynchburg, Tennessee that hosts fabulous events for the community. They have aptly named it Promise Manor, and I have been there myself. It is so special and beautiful, Kayla.
Thank you, Miss Lisa.
Welcome.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Well, I featured Kayla on a guest blog on the GAMG Stories platform, and if you are interested in how Promise Manor came to be, because that was a beautiful journey in and of itself of faith, and just, I remember you coining the phrase, the hallway of promise. You just felt like you were waiting in this hallway of promise forever. And you and I were just talking earlier about how at the time that blog was written, which I think the blog was called Praising God in the Hallway of Promise. At the time that blog was written, you were still at your job, and you were kind of like, I don't know, should I have this in there or not? And since that time, you took a deep breath and you jumped off the cliff and you left your job. What has happened since you acquired Promise Manor and the things you have happening now?
So we bought Promise Manor at an auction in 2018.
2018, okay.
We converted it. It was a historic home on the National Registry, and we renovated it and opened it as an event venue in 2019. Since then, we've done almost 300 events. So it's been... It was an asset. I was listening to an entrepreneur. It was a pastor who was an entrepreneur, and he said, make sure when you pray to open a business that it's something that's needed. Mm-hmm. So when you open anything, if you're an entrepreneur and you have that spirit, make sure that the demand and the need is there. And so it was awesome, and we've been going strong ever since. And when I was interviewed for the blog post, I said, Lisa, I don't want to put in here that I'm going to quit my job. And Lisa said, let's just go for it. And then I think it was the week or two after the blog post come out that I had quit my job. I was a credit analyst.
It was almost like you just declaring it and decreeing it just opened the way for it to happen.
It did. And it was something I'm sure many of you out there could relate, but it was something that I stewed over and argued with God over for many, many months. And I knew what He was calling me to do, but I was a little hesitant to take that leap. Mm-hmm. And when you take the leap, it's scary and you're risking and you're sacrificing, but taking the leap, it's what's going to get you to that next dimension.
Yeah, and you know, we talked about this earlier too, that I had an image of someone just driving to work right now and either listening to this podcast, or maybe someone's just coming home from work and they're watching this and they're thinking, gosh, you know, I wish I could leave my job because I'm not happy in my job. And both of us are here to just say, take the leap, you know, because you can trust God to catch you. If you are a follower of Jesus and you put your plans and your hopes and your dreams into His hands, He will order your steps.
He does. And there is that level of security that you need there. And if you're married, that's a conversation you have with your spouse, and you have to agree to this. You can't just be quitting your job, ladies.
Yes,
I did not tell you to quit your job.
Thank you for clarifying that.
There has to be some security there. But what I've realized in this season of my life is that in all things, God is my source. Mm-hmm. So when I'm following after His heart, He will always be the one to provide all the resources that I need, whether it's building funds or financial resources or clients. He's always going to be the one that's going to orchestrate that. Mm-hmm. And when you start living in that mindset that the risks are scary, but the reward is greater, yes, then you start shifting your focus in a little different way.
Yeah, yeah. My husband and I have had conversations about chasing the wild goose. Have you ever read Mark Batterson's book, The Wild Goose Chase? Well, I went on a mission trip to Scotland, a songwriting mission trip where we wrote worship songs there, and that was where I first learned about it. I learned that the wild goose term was coined by the Celtics, and they called the Holy Ghost the wild goose. And when you are chasing after him, he will take you on a wild goose adventure. Like, you just don't know what kind of adventures you're going to experience. And kind of what I've watched happen with you from the time that I first met you, when you had just acquired it and it was still new. And I've seen all the things that you've been doing there. You have a women's ministry on your heart as well as me. Again, just another thing we have in common. But I see you do something called the Soul Series. Is that something that's annual, or are there things in between the annual meetings?
So when we acquired Promise Manor, God spoke to me that this was not just a historic home, this was a vessel. And if I was willing to be the vessel, then he would continue to bless. And one of those things was to begin a women's ministry. I'll be the last one to tell you that I ever thought I would be involved in ministry in any capacity, much less founding my own women's ministry. But Soul Series is a women's ministry. It's been going strong for 5 years. And we also do monthly Soul Series Bible studies. Okay. So it is a huge foundational part of Promise Manor.
And can they plug into that online as well?
Yes, so on the Promise Manor website, there is a tab for Soul Series.
Okay, great. Well, that's just another one of the things that I've seen happen. And also the silos. Tell us about the silos.
The silos were one of those, I've had it on my vision board for years. I'm a huge believer in vision boards, and not just your cute little copy, cut, paste vision boards, but spirit, God-led vision boards. And so I had it on my vision board, and then I meet Lisa. I'm like, you have a silo? What? And so we came and we did some things here, and I just fell in love with this silo and the way it made me feel. And so my husband and I just recently constructed 2 Airbnb silos on our property. And they're also an agritourism experience for our guests who come to Lynchburg who may have never dug in the dirt and experienced what it's like to live in a community that's so agricultural driven. And so we've started an agritourism business through the silos.
Oh, wonderful. That's awesome. So with those silos, I went and watched a video. I haven't actually seen them in person yet. I can't wait to see them, by the way. But I watched a little video that you had of those silos, and I saw something that caught my attention, and it just made me smile so big, because I'm like, this is the creative God that we serve. He put it on your heart to name those silos. And what are the names of the silos?
Duke and Dolly.
Duke and Dolly. All right. I have to ask you the story about, like, why are they named that? What's that about?
So, when you have a silo, it just takes on a personality of its own.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And my mom and I are both creative as far as interior decorating and things like that. So I knew that I wanted them to be different. So if you stayed at one year, then you come and stayed at another one the next year, they would look and feel different. So Dolly, of course. I mean, we are in Tennessee. And so when you stay in Dolly, it feels like your grandmother's house. It feels very cozy and warm. You'll see hints of butterflies. And then Duke, he's your manly one. He's Duke, John Wayne, the Duke.
Oh,
You've got your cowboy hats,
okay.
your chaps, and there's even the saloon doors when you walk in. We just wanted it to feel different. But the biggest thing about the silos is the meaning behind them. So when we were constructing them, I prayed that these be places where people could come and feel restoration, rejuvenation, relaxation, but more importantly, where they could come and know that there's something greater. There's something greater out there. So we've put Bible verses, there's Bibles in each silo. Whether they open them or not is up to them, but they're there. And so there's been many prayers over those silos, and they're not just a place, just a building. They are, there's no TVs. There's no Wi-Fi.
Ah, interesting.
It's just...
So it's very much about rest then, yeah.
Rest, which we are all craving. Yeah. Everybody's craving rest in this chaotic world. Yeah. And so the silos were God's way of allowing me to create something in my own little community.
And I love, what you touched on with it. You put Bibles in both of the places, and if they want to open them, fine, and if they don't, Really what came to mind for me was the scripture that says that He is the author and the finisher of our faith. And so even if a person comes into your silo and they're not a believer, maybe they stepped into your silo saying, feeling like they're at the end of their rope and at the end of their road, and there's just something that they feel in your silo from those prayers and those scriptures, and their attention may be drawn to that book, and they may just be like, well, what's this thing all about? I mean, what's the big deal about it? And there's no telling, what God can do for them in that moment. It could be the beginning of their faith journey.
We are only called to plant a seed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And if we go throughout this life without planting those seeds, then what was it all for? I don't know the ending of their story.
Yes.
But I know that the seed was planted, and that's all I can do.
Yeah, and let God carry it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, changing topics now, because you have so many things that I really want to share with our viewers and our listeners. And I think this is an important thing to talk about. It doesn't have to do with the silos or Promise Manor, but I know that as you have been walking all of this out, you've also been walking out a personal journey that had to do with infertility and your children. Do you want to share a little bit about that? Because I just have a feeling there's someone watching or listening that needs to hear this.
So in 2012-ish, we started trying to have our daughter, and we ended up learning that there were some infertility issues. It wasn't anything necessarily that we could pinpoint, but we knew something was going on. 3.5 years later of lots of prayer and questioning God and wondering, why me? I've done everything the right way. Why can't I be the one to have a baby? Watching friends have babies. We finally were blessed with our little Presley Ann, and we always say she was our first promise from God. And that's when Hebrews 10:23 was placed on my heart. Let us hold fast to the faith, our profession of our faith, for He who promised is faithful. And God is faithful. He is faithful through every season, every trial, every hallway. And Presley came along, and then in 2020, we found out we were pregnant.
Wow.
It was a little surprise.
This was a surprise.
A little surprise. My grandfather says there's no way that was a surprise. But we found out we were pregnant, and so he's 2, and his name's Paxton. But at 34 weeks, we went to a baby boutique, 3D ultrasound place.
Oh, okay.
And the ultrasound lady was going over my stomach, and she says, "Is everything okay on his anatomy scan?" And I said, "Yeah, everything's fine. Your doctor didn't tell you anything?" "No." And we left the boutique place, and I get a call from my doctor that said, "I've set you up with an appointment in Nashville. You need to get there ASAP on Monday." We found out that he had a cleft lip. And I know there are many parents out there who are going through the scary journey of knowing that their child maybe has a facial deformity such as a cleft. It's nothing that I knew about. It's nothing that my husband knew about. We only saw the commercials on TV in third world countries of what cleft looked like, cleft palate, cleft lip. And we found out that he did in fact have a cleft. We were blessed. We covered him in prayer. He did not have a cleft palate. But once he was born, we did have surgery. And there was a lot of lessons through that. There was a lot of lessons of just trusting God and His promises.
And he had to have several surgeries,
He
right?
only had to have one.
Oh, he only had to have
That's the blessing
one.
in it all.
Oh, wow.
He only, after all was said and done, whenever there's a cleft involved, that means that their face did not form, which could also mean that there's heart defects, because it all forms at the same time. And so that was a scary journey. We weren't concerned with the fact that he would look different, because that's just who we are. But we were concerned that there could have been other issues. But God is faithful. And I'm not to say that there's not parents out there that aren't dealing with that right now. But God was faithful to us. And Paxton was perfectly healthy otherwise, but he did have one surgery at 6 months old. And now he is just something else.
Both of your kids are just beautiful.
Thank you.
And what a beautiful thing that they get to grow up watching mom and dad live out these dreams, because we both have these stories of a before and an after, kind of a line, so to speak, a water line of before at least in my case, I was not giving everything to God. I mean, I was a believer for a long time, but I wasn't giving everything to Him. And now I have this line of a before and after of when I went all in to learn about His kingdom, to learn how to bring the kingdom to earth. And I've mentioned this, I think, probably on other episodes, that, knowing the Lord's Prayer, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. For a long time, it's what Jesus taught us to pray, so I'm going to say it. But when I really went all in for the Lord, that's when I realized, oh, so you mean I don't have to wait to get to heaven to see beautiful things like this happen? And He says, no, I have many things for all of my children to do. And for some people, it's silos. And for others, it may be something else that you never imagined that you would do. When Craig and I first built this silo, we talked about this a little bit too. I think you may have had family in your life that thought the same thing, like, why are you building a silo on your property? Are you going to be getting into farming? No, we just know we're supposed to, and God's going to do something special with it.
It's the crazy.
Yeah, it seems crazy.
It's the crazy things that people look back on and they think, oh,
yeah,
wow.
Yes.
And when I tell my story about the silos and how they've been on the vision board for years, people look back and say, it's all connected to God. So then my journey is all connected back to God, and then that's just being able to witness to other people.
Yeah.
So it's His journey that we're just walking out.
I love it. And you also are able to do this with family members too, because doesn't your mom grow flowers on your property, and she has a little flower shop?
She does. We grow flowers. Our guests that stay at the silos can go cut flowers, create their own bouquets.
I love that.
We have a chicken coop. They can get fresh eggs in the morning.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And we're just trying to create an experience for our guests that they wouldn't get otherwise, that all kind of leads back to the foundation of being rooted in God's truths, being rooted in what God's created.
Yeah. Talk about some of the things you're doing for the community there.
One of our most amazing things that we do is our Farm to Table event. We do a Farm to Table event every year where we source local goods and products to serve the community. Tickets sell out in 15, 20 minutes because it's just such a sought after event because it's so special. And so this year we were honored. We got to use vegetables from our own family Century Farm.
That's amazing.
So we have a 300-acre Century Farm in Lynchburg that my grandfather owns, and he grew all the vegetables to feed 80 people at a Farm to Table event this year. And it was very special, and it was very humbling. We do that, of course, Soul Series. Soul Series is the main thing that we do. We host...
You do holiday things.
Holiday events. It's all free to the community because it's our way of giving back. And we have Santa come, and then Santa gets to see all the kids that maybe wouldn't normally get to see Santa and have to pay a couple $100 for photos with Santa. Santa comes to them. So
I love it. And you have a children's book. Let's go ahead and touch on that.
Yeah.
So
Allen Farm Adventures.
Allen
Farm Adventures.
Allen Farm Adventures.
And this one that's out right now is Praying for Wisdom. So it takes place on our family farm, and some of the characters you'll recognize from the names that I've mentioned.
Okay.
And it's teaching children biblical principles in an easy to learn way.
I love that.
So yes.
I love that. If someone is listening or watching this right now, that might go to your website and see all of the beautiful things, and they're thinking to themselves, well, why can't that be me? Why not me? What would you say to that person?
It is my mission to dismantle the thought that everything comes easy and beautiful and pretty in this nice packaged bow deal. I stress to my women in Soul Series that this did not come easy. It did not come without a fight. Anytime you're walking a journey that's going to lead others to the cross, you're going to have stumbling blocks. You're going to have spiritual warfare. You're going to have attacks that's going to come against you, not only you, but your entire family. And so everything that you see on Promise Manor, my Instagram, my Facebook, it looks beautiful, but you don't also see behind the scenes and all the things that it takes to get to that point. And so dismantling the belief, as especially women, that we have to live up to some Pinterest, Instagram-worthy photo of what family and business looks like, that's a lie. Yeah. It's a lie, and all it does is cause confusion, and it causes us to think that we have to be something greater than what God's called us to be.
Absolutely.
And
And
it's
then
not
once these things exist, then they don't run themselves, you know. So we were talking about this earlier too, that there's not these magical fairies that come in and run everything, like behind the scenes, you know, of if you're watching this show right now in this beautiful set, there's a lot that goes into it. And at times, you know, I don't know about you, Kayla, but at times I just feel like, I think you picked the wrong person. Do you ever feel that?
Every day, Lisa. When I was cleaning yesterday to get ready for a wedding this weekend, and when I was cleaning the silos, I thought, God, this is not how it's supposed to be.
Right.
I'm supposed to have all these people that come in and clean up. And,
Yes.
and I heard it so clearly the other day, and he said, please keep moving forward. Just move forward. Just keep walking forward. Don't stop. I know this is not everything that it was cracked up to be when you thought this vision came, but keep moving forward. Because where I was before Promise Manor versus where I am today is all worth it. It's all worth it.
I love it. And I would agree. And I just want to say, for those of you watching or listening right now, you know, I really hope that those words have gone into your spirit and reached you and touched you wherever you are, because God has beautiful things for you too, and beautiful plans wherever you're at right now. If you're thinking, you know, well, I don't even know if I have any dreams, you know, just ask God, ask Him to start showing you, opening your eyes to what He sees for your life, and opening your ears so that you can really hear Him speaking to you. Because a lot of times we're so caught in the routine of our daily life that He is speaking to us and we don't even know it. We're just letting it pass us by. So I really hope that you know, what you take away from this conversation with Kayla today is that you can do a lot of beautiful and wonderful things that are things you never dreamed of. But it's when we partner with God, it's when we partner with the Holy Spirit that these things can actually happen. And so wherever you are, I really hope that first of all, even if you're not in the Tennessee area, check out the Promise Manor website and see all the beautiful things going on there. But when you come through this town, make sure to make that a destination spot for you to visit, because you'll love it.
Thank you. Thank you. And all those things require action.
Absolutely.
God says, I'll give you all the things that you desire and all the things that I've placed on your heart. And He swears to prosper us and to be in good health. But it takes action on our part.
Yes, it's a cooperation for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Not just saying yes, but doing, you know, the steps to walk it out too.
That's the hard part.
Yeah, it's a hard part, but like you said, beautiful rewards come with it. Yes. Thank you all, and we'll see you next time on the GAMG Stories Show.